Let's do this. I'm also looking at my backstage. The last speaker of the Open Slava 2020 is ready. Super excited. Everything is okay, so I'm not going to take too much of his time. I'm just going to introduce him, his name, and I'm going to try to pronounce it right. It's Timo Fürtsch. Do I pronounce it right? Perfect. Okay, Timo Fürtsch, Head of Business Innovation at Mackevision Media and Design. You're an expert in CGI. You're responsible for the topic digital twins, also what you're going to talk about. They told me, but you can say if it's they have been talking about some relation you have with Game of Thrones. So you can maybe going to address that or not. People were talking about it in the previous days, so that would be really cool. Probably you're in the mood like, oh, Game of Thrones again. Here we go. And you create unique and innovative customer solutions together with all the advanced technology you have and the Mackevision solutions. And today you're going to talk about this last presentation of the Open Slava, digital twins from CAD or CAD to AR and high-res images at scale. And if I look at the description, it's simply saying we're going to do that, but we're going to do it easier and faster. And that's what you're going to talk about. So let's say, have fun. The virtual floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Manik, for the introduction. And yes, Game of Thrones, this is what we always are known for. And many other Hollywood movies, we just were nominated for an Emmy for 2 series. And usually we actually start with a show reel. The issue with that is if I show you the show reel and you would love it, everybody would switch to Netflix and won't join the presentation anymore. So I have a piece of that, but in the end, so you hopefully stay during my presentation to listen to the, let's say, more, not actually boring, but compared to Game of Thrones, of course, but the more technical stuff. And it's a solution orientation we have for our clients. Yeah, so thanks for joining. Today I want to give you an insights on how we can solve with a digital twin and some pieces of technology a very common problem in the CPG industry, and CPG stands for consumer goods, consumer packaged goods. So in this case, what you see here on screen could be a watch, could be a toaster or a coffee machine. So whatever is produced somewhere. And this industry is extremely well organized. They have a very high time and cost pressure. They have a very efficient logistics process. And on the same time, obviously, enormously high quality demands for anything in the process chain. Yeah? Some of these companies come up with round about 10,000, 20,000 new products every year. And for each of the products, they have their own project plan, their own supply chain. And the question was, how can we provide some benefit with technology in this industry? And this is what I want to talk to you about. So obviously, we want to show you the situation to give you a little bit insights in this industry. A glimpse in our solution with 3 examples, what we have done. And then here, what's in it for you or what's in it for our clients? How can we add value? And obviously then the last piece is a little bit of Game of Thrones and all this stuff in why us. So consumers are digitally inspired many hours a day. That's obvious right now, but retail and consumer companies need almost a year to bring products to the shelf. So from the need they see to the product in the shelf around about 12 months. The retail companies are confronted with increasing complexity in the logistics of product samples. So whenever they need a photograph or something to test, as usually the production of these products is somewhere in Asia, many of them obviously in China, you always have the issue to solve the logistics issue. And this can be very complex if you have to move hundreds of thousands of products via a container ship to Europe, which also takes some time. And there is a weak point is, for example, the product packaging process. Obviously, if you produce some such products and you start production, you already need the packaging. Otherwise, you have to store somewhere in between these products. So it's the packaging is actually the key not to miss the container boat, because if you do so as a company, you have to fly all the goods and then it becomes extremely expensive. On the other hand, it's high costly content adaptations for minor product changes. So from prototyping to the real product, there can be many changes due to supplier reasons, product reasons. So even if you classically generate marketing content based on a prototype, it doesn't mean that it still works when the final product is delivered. The companies have the risk for inconsistent look and feel, also quality across the different countries where they sell it. And currently there are also limit in creative possibilities as everything is based on minor availability of these prototypes. So what did we do to solve this problem? And here's a short movie.
Digital twins, a means to optimize supply chains, a breakthrough for consumer products and retail companies. The situation, supply chains have to be sped up, but how? Today, the process of getting from product design to production to sale of the product is quite complex, timely, and fragile. It is also maxed out in terms of cost and timing. If you want to further speed things up, you have to transform them from analog to digital, from manual to
automized. So what did we do? From the CAD data, so from the data that is used to produce the product at the manufacturer, which must not be our client, but some companies in Asia, we produce a model that is actually the visual digital twin of this product. We can, for example, instantly produce packaging and marketing materials for our clients and enable fast and consistent asset production for any application on and offline without even having seen the product. When we then utilize this digital twin to leapfrog steps in the supply chain. For example, the twin allows us to produce packaging and marketing materials early on without having to wait for the physical samples. And by that, we can reduce the supply chain, for example, at least by 9 weeks, which then gives also a faster go-to-market and reduce the risk of logistic processes via aircrafts, which obviously are more expensive. If we have done this, we also have many more possibilities. For example, we can sell products in different markets with different adaptations the products provide. We can create content for even more channels. It's not just images. We can produce animation videos or whatever. Could even be in games. There was, sorry for that one. There was a shoe in Unreal available, so in Fortnite available. So it even can be used for gamification. So we use the same CAD data that is used to manufacture a product, build a so-called CGI model from it, so computer-generated imagery, right from the start, even before it's produced. And another example, what you can do with it is we can create visuals of the product that are needed for its packaging, while photography can only start once a physical sample has been produced and shipped. That leads to an acceleration of the whole procurement process. And done so, we also can create any other marketing material, design material that is necessary in today's social media channels or interactive channels, you name it. And you see here some examples. For example, this AR/VR application to show how a certain product looks on your hand, on your foot, or wherever it is, or how a certain product fits to your living room. This all can then be handled with this digital twin. But it not can only be used in marketing. It can start in the planning phase, in the design phase, also in early decision making with some customers you have identified or potential customers. So you can show them the digital version and see how well would it fit to their needs, and they can have a much better decision of if this is a product that needs to be produced, or if there are different requirements or different likes in the look, for example, that people want. Another thing we just see in the industry, obviously to COVID, is the virtual B2B and ordering process. So right now, the actual retailers cannot go to our clients and have a look at the products there to then start their orderings, what they want to sell in the future. But this has to be digitalized, and as they cannot travel. Also something we perfectly can support. So everybody stays at home, looks digital in the product in a real-time environment. Obviously can turn around and play with a good already much earlier than any production can provide. And what we have done, and let's come a little bit more to technology. Here you see a process and all the participants. So we build a platform that is shared by the client, his suppliers, and obviously us as an additional supplier for the digital twin. And all process steps have been digitalized and allow that everybody in this process always knows where is my digital product, in which status it is, when will it be available, and how does it look like. And I want to show you these two pink examples on how something how this can happen. And this is really a glimpse into our machine room. It's not fancy made. There's no client UI or whatever. So it's really almost on code level, but you will see and get the impression how that works. So this is our data upload portal. So what you see here, we just say, okay, we want to add a new product. For example, this can be done by the supplier who owns the data. Can be in somewhere in China. He just says, okay, I want to upload my CAD data, and you see here two examples. This is a so-called step file. It's some CAD format. Then we click, we want to have a high-res version of this conversion. And now the supplier, a project manager, or our client can have a look at this product. And now I have to skip because it takes like 5 minutes. I want to bore you with that one. Can have a look at this product without any knowledge of 3D software, of CAD software, without having a license, which is usually quite expensive, just by the use of his browser. And what we use for that is it's actually freeware. So it's open source software we use for that one. It's in this case based on Unreal Engine. And I'm not sure if you see it in the video in the resolution. We switch on and off certain geometries, so it's not just a static model. The user or can play with it and can see if all parts are there, if there are holes somewhere, some mistakes and errors in the data. And the next step, our client can say, okay, this is the product I want, and it's the data how I like it, and then he can approve this data and put it into our process chain. I just showed you the slide before. And with that, without having any go back and further, we also have comment function in there. And so the supplier and our client can chat, and it's all documented what should be in there. So the other thing is, after this stuff was uploaded, it usually happens that there are modifications. So from prototyping to production, usually there are many changes made in the design phase, but also in the life cycle. So when you think of, let's say, around about Christmas time, roughly the same products are sold every year. but with minor modifications. And instead of doing every marketing material again and again and again each year, we just take care of the modifications, and by that are much faster and much cheaper than the classical production. And what you see here now, this is our what we call our data hub. So every data that comes into our process ends up in this data hub. It's based on an open source database, ArangoDB. And I show you now how product modifications can be made and are instantly live in any kind of advertising material you can imagine. And I show you this on a yellow car. We just load the car. So this is a geometry of the car, and now we just create a convertible out of it. Obviously, this change doesn't make sense. In this case, it just should show you how we can work with modified changes on a certain product. So we just lift the roof, so you see some changes, check in. And as soon as we check in, the actual workflow software checks, okay, here is a modification. And in this case, on the right corner, you see a WebGL model that could be, for example, in Google search, that could be on the website as a 360 experience of the product. And on the top right corner, you see the model in Unity, could be a point of sale application, could also be something you provide via streaming to the clients. And obviously the same applies for any kind of images that you want that you have online in your e-commerce experience or wherever, in your digital asset management system. And now the first change is already there. And nobody did anything to do that. It was just the watchdog and the database just updating and running some scripts, and every modification is now there. Yeah, so actually I would also change the color because yellow car might not fit to everybody, but in this case, any instant change is done. And it's just so much less effort and so much sped up in the process that we can increase the go-to-market and the go-live to many, many weeks. So what's in it? Why does this all matter? Obviously, it increases the amount of digitalization. Digital twins of your physical products allow digitalization, automation, globalization of traditional and analog processes. You can optimize the supply chain. It leads to more efficiency and lower costs, usually for design, engineering, and for marketing and sales. And it gives you just, in this case, like 9 weeks in the process flow of the supply chain, which is a tremendous benefit compared to the usual competitors. And once that is done, it also can be used for other results or other types that are other steps in the process that are necessary. Obviously, we can pre-produce the packaging, so you never have the problem that the product is produced and you don't have packaging to ship it. You avoid any physical sample. The design of the product can be tested way before any production. And in the optimized case, it would also mean that you can marketing and sell a product even before you have produced it, and then you produce just on demand. And if it's a little bit of complex product, you also would be able to produce in a personalized way. The car industry obviously does this already, but this is also possible for any kind of other product where you have a little bit of time that you say, okay, I want to produce a product based on the real orderings in the e-commerce section. So you don't have to produce hundreds of thousands and then you recognize, oh, nobody wants to buy my product. So why us? And now we come to the dragons, and at least only a little bit dragons in this movie.
Why us? Quality at scale. Mackevision develops, implements, and runs data-driven content creation solutions that create digital experiences at scale to empower our clients to leverage the potential of a digital world. And we are obsessed with visual quality, be it for retail, automotive, or the big screen. We are part of Accenture Interactive, a new breed of agency that reimagines business through experience. Part business consultancy, part creative agency, and part technology powerhouse. We stand on the shoulders of Accenture, bringing it all together to deliver tangible business outcomes for our clients.
Okay. So thanks for your time. And happy to discuss any questions you have.
All right. Thank you very much. I was looking for the dragon. I missed the dragon, I think.
Yeah.
Explosion.
Only the boom, actually, yeah. Because obviously, if we show too much Hollywood stuff, then the actual industry clients think we just do only fun stuff and not really serious business.
That's true. That's true. But I think the serious business, as you called in the beginning, that you described with the watch and everything, and even downsizing the supply chain, which might not sound super sexy, was also for me with non-tech background be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Look at, I can really imagine brands, even small web shops, having that product design, showing it online, and like you said in the end, selling it before it is actually manufactured, which creates less waste and less overproduction. Go ahead.
Yeah, and this is also, and then sometimes we also get the feedback we cannot sell if we haven't produced it, but this is actually what happens on Kickstarter. So any Kickstarter project does nothing else. They don't have the product, you can test it, you cannot test it. And so the question is, when that this Kickstarter sense of buying also hit the regular e-commerce? Not everything, of course, but there might be certain products and certain brands where this really fits to their needs of their clients, to say, okay, you can modify, you can adjust how the product should be for you, and then we produce it this way. And obviously then the client has to wait a little bit longer than the expected, let's say, Amazon one-day delivery, obviously.
That's true. And how do you think, because meanwhile there's a question coming in, I'll ask that from Tommy in a second. How do you think people, maybe that's a weird question, but how do you think people will react if I saw the watch that you, the smartwatch you were presenting? Would it be a bit like Instagram? Like when I see people, or when you see me, let's say that, when you see me on Instagram, I look great. And you're like, whoa, what a handsome young man with all my filters, and I'm totally digital. And then you see me in real life and you get disappointed because I don't look like I look on Instagram. Will it be the same with those products? That people are like, whoa, cool watch, how smooth it is, and then you have the real life version and people are like, oh, this is not what they sold me, or you don't think that's a problem?
Actually, no, I don't think so. Obviously, that would be possible, but you always have this in the e-commerce section. The companies want to provide that, because if people then order such a product and compared to the image it doesn't fit, they would send just the product back, and the actual manufacturer or the shop has then the additional costs. And the most expensive stuff in e-commerce is that people send stuff back. So the intention is actually to not, like you say, put filters on it and to make it too nice, but to make it realistic. So you obviously you have to attract a person to a certain product, but you also want to avoid that then the product and the expectations do not match anymore. And with classical photo production, you are just limited. You cannot play around with it. You cannot really feel it, experience it, put it on your hand already, or on your arm. In case of this watch, you cannot play around with the buttons. So in this case, it would be possible just to make a game where you just can use the watch and see how the operating system works and which feature it has, and not just rely on text information, which might not give you all the information you need and the user experience you will have with this product. So the digital production, in my opinion, just helps to better understand and really get a real impression of the product and not a over-exaggerated one.
That's a good one. And in the meantime, like I said, Tommy had a question. He says, can the Can the tool chain automatically generate video with rotating object?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that is the shortest answer ever, but it's good. It can do it.
And it's one of the easiest one. Yeah. So this automatically generated videos, we have automatically light and camera sets for such products. And then it's for the software, it's just a virtual spin of the product. It's one of the easiest thing we can imagine.
Okay, so Tommy, I hope you had answers. In the meantime, people are, because you probably can't see it, the claps are coming in, so everybody has their digital clap. So that's lovely. People saying in German, by the way, sehr schön, vielen Dank, Timo, with claps. So also you have brought your German fans, which is really good.
Dankeschön.
And then someone says, probably on the answer you give about the rotation, someone says, what is hard then? But I have no idea what the, maybe Matej, you can clarify a bit on what you're saying, but in the meantime, people are applauding. People are saying it's awesome. So I'm just sharing this with you, that you also know as a speaker what the feedback is, because we're still virtual and you're not getting the applause.
No feedback, no audience, no faces you can look into it if what you're saying is completely abstruse and maybe useless for them. So it's a pretty nice impression. So thanks for letting me presenting this. And I hope you had any additional value. But as a presenter, it's really strange. I see you, of course, but that's obviously not the audience. And yeah, interesting times here, as as a colleague before said.
Yeah, and to wrap it up, because you're the last one at the time, and Matej, I want to give everybody, because I've been promoting everybody ask questions, so I can't ignore the chat. So the last thing before I let you go is that we talked about the rotation, and you said that's the easiest. So now someone is asking, well, if that's the easiest thing to do, what you just presented, what is the absolute hardest thing?
Yeah, the more difficult is really to connect the physical product, and for example, in this case of the smartwatch, with the actual software that is running on this one, because these are completely two different processes. One thing is like the geometry and the material and visualize that. This is the easy thing. But on the other hand, provide also the software and how it behaves into some kind of web experience in e-commerce shops. Yeah, and I'm not sure if you have ever even seen a really good working examples. Usually from the software, you got only a video, which someone screen grabbed somehow, but it's not really the experience of the product like it would behave in real. So this is still something that has to be matched. And there are certain technologies in real-time technology that can make this, but for that you actually have to produce like a game. Yeah, and the game would be you play around with the product, and you really have the same software that is running on the product. You have it just emulated in your game, which is your product presentation. And this is still something that has to be improved a lot if you want to sell the products what we call IoT products, where you have some software on, it's connected to the internet, you have some user interface, and it's not just something aluminum or rubber or whatever material that you want to present. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Gideon. And then, because we still have time, someone says, funny there, because you were saying I don't have an audience. People say just model an audience. You can do that. And then another person is saying, do you generate also USD-Z for iPhones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do this for the automotive industry right now, and you can search for certain cars in Google, and then you get just a 3D model of it directly in the Google search on the iPhone. So if someone wants to have a link, just message me on LinkedIn, and I send around some links, obviously. Okay,
you heard it. Connect with you on LinkedIn or other social media. Timo, thank you so much for being here, for closing off the first virtual edition of OpenSlava, ending the 3 days. I enjoyed it. The audience enjoyed it. You're getting your claps. So it was a great closing.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
For listening.
Cheers. Bye-bye.